When you picture the great empires of history, you're probably thinking of Rome, right? Or maybe the Mongols. But what if I told you that one of the wealthiest, most powerful empires of the Middle Ages was actually in West Africa? An empire literally built on rivers of gold. Let's dive in.
So let me ask you something. Who do you think is the richest person who ever lived? Jeff Bezos? Maybe Rockefeller? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. Historians are pretty sure the wealthiest person in all of human history had a fortune so huge it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around it.
The best guess we have puts his net worth at around $400 billion in today's money. I mean, that is a fortune so big, he could single-handedly crash the economy of an entire country just by going on a shopping spree. And he actually did. His name was Mansa Musa. He was the emperor, or Mansa, of the Mali Empire. But his story isn't just about the money. It's about how he used that absolutely unimaginable wealth to put his empire on the world map, transforming it into a legendary center for culture, for art, and for learning.
Okay, so how did one empire get so incredibly rich? I mean, this kind of wealth doesn't just appear out of thin air. It was built by controlling one of the most important and profitable trade networks in the entire world.
The engine of Mali's economy was something called the Trans-Saharan Gold Salt Trade. For centuries, you had these massive camel caravans trekking across the Sahara Desert, connecting the salt mines up in the north with the gold fields of West Africa. And the Mali Empire, it was sitting right in the middle of it all, basically acting as the gatekeeper.
And the dynamic here is just fascinating. On one side, you've got gold. The Mali Empire controlled almost half of the old world's entire supply. It was the currency of power. But on the other side, you have salt. And you gotta remember, you can't eat gold. In the Sahara, salt was the mineral of life. It was crucial for preserving food and just for survival in that intense heat. In some places, salt was so valuable, it was literally traded ounce for ounce with gold.
So with all this incredible wealth, Mansa Musa decides to undertake the Hajj, the sacred Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca. But this was not just any pilgrimage. This was a journey so ridiculously extravagant that its story would be told for centuries and completely change how the world saw Africa.
Calling this a caravan doesn't do it justice. It was more like a moving city of gold. Just try to picture it. 60,000 people. 12,000 of them were his personal servants, all dressed in fine silk. Leading the way were 500 heralds, and every single one of them was carrying a staff made of pure gold. And then came the camels. 100 of them, each one loaded with up to 300 pounds of gold dust, just to give away as gifts.
So when this massive procession gets to Cairo, they don't just make an impression. They completely upend the local economy. Mansa Musa was so generous, handing out gold to the poor, buying souvenirs at any price. As one historian at the time wrote, they spent so much that the actual value of gold itself dropped.
The effect was just staggering. One man's generosity completely flooded one of the world's biggest economies with so much gold that its value just plummeted. This kicked off an inflation crisis that took Cairo more than 10 years to recover from. He literally had more money than an entire country knew what to do with.
But here's the thing. Musa's journey wasn't just about showing off his wealth. No, the real return on investment wasn't about what he spent, but what and who he brought back with him. His ultimate goal was to kickstart a brand new golden age for Mali, an age of knowledge. When he came back from Mecca, he brought with him some of the greatest minds in the Islamic world. He actively recruited scholars, poets, and brilliant architects like a guy named Es Salih from Spain and convinced them to come back to Mali and help build a new intellectual heart for his empire. And the center of this new age was the city of Timbuktu. Under Musa's leadership, magnificent mosques were built. The Sankor Madrasa, which was basically a university, was transformed into a world-class center for learning that drew in students and scholars from all over the world. Timbuktu became this legendary hub of knowledge, with libraries that rivaled any in Baghdad or Cairo.
But you know how these stories go. Like all great empires, the golden age of Mali couldn't last forever. And the very thing that made it so strong, its powerful central ruler would also eventually become its greatest weakness.
After Mansa Musa died around 1337, he was followed by a string of rulers who just weren't as capable. Arguments over who should be in charge and civil wars started to crack the empire's foundations from the inside, leaving it wide open to threats from the outside.
And those threats came pretty fast. Rival empires started chipping away at Mali's land, capturing key cities like Timbuktu. But the final nail in the coffin didn't come from the desert, it came from the sea. When Portuguese explorers found a way to sail down the coast of Africa in the 1480s, they created new trade routes that completely bypassed the old Saharan network. It was a classic case of new technology making the old way obsolete. And for Mali, it cut off their economic lifeblood.
And this really is Mali's ultimate legacy. The stories of Mansa Musa's unbelievable wealth, stories that even made it onto famous European maps, they absolutely lit a fire under Europe. This legend of a golden kingdom in Africa helped fuel the entire age of exploration, as countries like Portugal became obsessed with finding the source of all that gold. And that, of course, changed the course of world history forever.
For centuries, the incredible story of this powerful African empire was pretty much ignored by Western history. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a story this huge about the richest man who ever lived and his legendary city of knowledge could be almost forgotten, what other incredible histories are still out there, just waiting for us to find them?